All right, what is up, everybody? What is up? So I'll give this a minute. Please share this stream out. If you guys could comment, I just want to make sure that the mic is working properly. What's up, Jay Bean? But yeah, if you guys could just drop a comment, let me know if I just want to make sure the mic is working before we get into this. Sounds fine, boss says. Perfect. Make sure you guys like this video. You're definitely going to like it regardless, so hit that thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not, and hit that bell for notifications. And please share this out. Share this everywhere you possibly can. What's up, Mary B? Hey, Jess. DJ Elrad. I love when he's here. Mary says the sound is good. Perfect. I'll give you guys a second to share this out. Try to get some more viewers. I was going to wait until later on tonight, but just kind of due to the importance of this, I wanted to get this out ASAP. What's up, Darlene? Let me just make sure. And, share this out on Facebook, whatever social media sites you got. Still working on the share. Thanks, Ruben. I appreciate it. So while you guys are sharing this out, the Darrell Brooks trial is over. Finally, thank God, the families can start getting some level of closure, some level of healing. We're going to be coming back for sentencing Monday, I believe. They're coming back to court to discuss some details, and a sentencing day. We'll find out how many family members and victims are going to make statements. And then they'll schedule a sentencing day. Darrell Brooks right now, I'm sure you guys have heard, is facing 6 life sentences plus 859 years. So the last 2 days, I was at the courthouse, kind of providing some behind the scenes updates that we were kind of posting on Andrew Mercado's media page, Mercado Media Productions, kind of giving an insight to jury reaction, the gallery reaction, just kind of some of those things that you guys weren't able to actually see. So we were kind of helping him out on his channel with his followers, just giving some insight. I did a kind of a live stream, not last night because I got home. It was so late and I was exhausted, but the night before, just kind of talking about all those things. I made the video not public for right now because after we talked about that, the stream kind of went sideways. So I'm going to come back. I'm going to edit it so it just talks about the behind the scenes stuff of Brooks, and then the full video with all the box of crazy that we were talking about. Sometimes the streams do go sideways. Will be available for members only. But the part about Darrell Brooks and the behind the scenes we'll make public after I clip it. Yeah, Mary B, I watch Peter's channel, so I comment in there every now and again. I was contacting Peter on his Instagram, kind of giving him updates as well about what was happening. So we'll give this another minute. Just share this out everywhere. I really want to get as many views on this as humanly possible. this entire Reddit situation of a alleged juror posting on social media, has obviously caused a little bit of chaos. It's kind of the talk of the town right now. So I'm going to tell you guys kind of where Never Stop Media is at when it comes to all of the Reddit stuff. So, as you guys know, obviously I do use some adult style language from time to time when I'm doing very serious news stuff. I try to tone that stuff down. So I'll try to be as serious as possible. If you guys want to get your questions or comments highlighted, send in a super chat so we can post those up. So they'll be highlighted for the viewers. We'll answer questions that way as well. So I'll kind of go through a little bit of this step by step. We'll kind of pause. We'll answer some questions and then kind of carry on, pause, answer some questions. This isn't going to be a very long stream because I have stuff to do today. But I thought this was important to get this out as fast as humanly possible. So comment where you guys are watching from. All you lurkers out there, say hi. Quit lurking in the shadows. If you guys are watching this through somebody restreaming me, which happens all the time, come to the Never.Stop.Voices YouTube channel. What's up, Chaos? I was hoping you would come. All right, so let's get started. Once again, like the video if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. I don't go live all the time anymore. It's mainly just keeping posting videos, pre-recorded videos up on the YouTube channel just to avoid some of the trolls. Share the stream out if you haven't already. What's up, Rach? How you doing? It's good to see you. All right, so let's get into it. Let's talk about it. So I'm sure many of you have heard, and for those that haven't heard, during the trial, it was brought to the public's attention that there was a Reddit post that went out. Many people saw it and immediately notified the authorities, immediately notified the courts of the content of the Reddit post. Yeah, right on, Rachel. It was cool to be in there. So we got a copy of, the link was sent to me while I was in the courthouse. So I kind of hung out in the media room and then inside of the actual courtroom the last couple of days, following like the closing arguments and the verdict and all of that. And then I was in Mercado Media's live stream on his YouTube channel of the case, kind of giving his viewers some behind the scenes updates, things like that. Showtime says, I seen you posted that video right after the court announced that. Yeah. So that's the thing. So we'll kind of do this step by step. So somebody sent me the link for the Reddit post itself. I clicked on that link and read the post and kind of was like, holy fuck. It seemed like it may not be very plausible that, excuse me, that it was actually, in fact, a juror, Sure, that stuff can happen. Is it realistic that jurors don't necessarily talk or view things? I don't think so, not with this day and age. But I do believe people do try to have some integrity when it comes to being on a jury and trying to maintain that integrity. It was concerning though, where when I got to court the first day that I was there, the day they did the closing arguments, we were waiting outside, and it was me. There were two ladies that were sitting next to me. We were just kind of sitting on the concrete slabs, waiting for the doors to open. And then there was a third woman that showed up, and she started talking about how she was a juror and she's here, to do her due diligence, but she doesn't want to be here. She's got all this important shit she's got going on. And the two ladies sitting next to me, like, we looked at each other like, oh my God. And the one lady, had, and the juror made it sound, I forgot the exact verbiage she used, but she made it sound like she was here. She said something like, especially when it comes to this case. And I was like, holy Christ. So one lady next to me looked at her and she said, "Are you a juror?" And the woman answered, "Yes." And the woman sitting next to me followed up with, "I don't think you should be talking to us." And I looked at her and I said, "I'm a journalist. I cannot be anywhere near this conversation." And I got up and walked away. And I was like, holy fuck, dude, if this is actually a juror, like, had this conversation gone further, what would have been said? Where would this have gone? And from a journalist perspective, like, that would have been great to kind of get this perspective, because we're all sitting here thinking she's on the Brooks jury. So from a journalist perspective, like, that would have been great. But I'm like, from a legal perspective, I want nothing to do with this. I don't need to be involved in allegations of jury tampering, and just, I'm fucking walking away. And I did. So once I got into the courtroom and they finally brought the jury out after, we finally get done with Brooks's interruptions and things, I looked at every single jury member, praying to God that this woman was not on the actual jury. Otherwise, I probably would have brought that to the court's attention, that there was, in fact, a juror outside talking about things. And I did find it weird that, like, there was jury coming through the front door, especially on the Brooks trial. Anyway, the jury comes out and this woman was not on the Brooks trial. And I was like, oh, thank God. So she was there for something else. I did run into her later on as she was leaving, because she was so worried about, like, I want to get out of this thing because I got all this more important stuff and whatever. And I made a comment to her like, hey, did you get released from the jury? And she was like so excited. And she's like, yep, yes, I did. And I was like, oh, cool. Good for you. So she was not part of the Brooks jury. She was there for some different random trial. So we've kind of seen that there's really not been support for Darrell Brooks. You can kind of see that occasionally there's somebody that sits behind him in the gallery. A lot of you that were watching the trial through whatever various streams you were watching, you were questioning, like, who is this person that's sitting behind Brooks? Is he a family member? Things like that. And even kind of publicly, social media wise, like we've seen in other very high profile cases, when it comes to Kyle Rittenhouse, when it comes to Jeffrey Dahmer, when it comes to Ted Bundy, right? Like, all these very high profile things, Ethan Crumbley, Chandler Halderson, there's been fans, right? Which kind of seems weird to most of us who are normal, of how can there be a fan of a serial killer or a murderer, or somebody that's just been accused of some very crazy things, right? There's a fanfare, and it becomes a circus, like how we saw with the Rittenhouse trial, where outside that courthouse it became a circus. You can watch our live streams on that, where people were dressing up in costumes, and so we really didn't see any of that publicly with the Brooks trial, which was great, but also interesting at the same time. So when I had gone to the courtroom, I had seen a person of color that was there sitting behind Brooks, and that front row on the right side behind Darrell Brooks. The front row was reserved for his immediate family or friends or whatever. And then the whole left side of the gallery was for all families and victims and things like that. None of us were allowed to be over there. The very last row on our side was reserved for media. But as long as the courtroom was kind of empty, we could sort of sit wherever except for that front row. So for that first day that I was there, I sat in the front row, in view of the camera, because that was kind of my cue to Andrew, like, hey, I made it, I'm here. And then later on, I sat back in the media area. So I noticed the gentleman, the person of color that sat back there. He kind of arrived a little bit later for the verdict day. And there was nobody there the day before, nobody supporting him. I'll talk to you guys about the mom here in a minute. But verdict day, this gentleman showed back up, and he had been there, a couple of times. We've seen him on camera. And kind of after everything was done, I kept stepping outside to, one, I needed a cigarette, two, like trying to wake up because it's just so exhausting. You guys watching it through the live streams, you're exhausted all day, but physically being there, that was 10 times worse. But I had stepped outside, kind of looking for this person, have a cigarette, kind of wake up a little bit, get some fresh air. And the gentleman walked outside. And because on Mercado Media's live stream, so many people were questioning, like, hey, who is this individual? Is this a family member? Like, who is he? Is he a supporter? So I walked up to him. I said, hi, how you doing? My name's Kevin Glowicki. I'm with Never.Stop Media. I'm an independent journalist. I was wondering if I could talk to you. And he's like, yeah, sure, no problem. So I had asked him, I said, are you a family member of Mr. Brooks? And he's like, no, not exactly. And I'm like, okay, like, what the fuck does that mean? So I said, well, are you a family member or not? Are you just a supporter? Are you a friend of his, a close friend? And it was raining. So he's like, can we go underneath this bus depot vestibule thing? I was like, yeah, of course. So him and his kids are under there. I'm standing out in the rain, getting soaked, trying to film this thing. So I'm talking to him for a couple of minutes, and I thought that this might be kind of a juicy interview. And plus, I figured you guys want to see this because so many people had asked who this individual was. So I kind of stopped him. I said, hey, we're kind of getting into some really good content. Do you mind if I record this? And he's like, no, that's totally fine. I said, are you okay being on video? He's like, yep, that's fine. So I recorded 11 seconds, and then I accidentally hit the stop button because my hands were shaking because it was cold out, and then immediately started recording again. So you only missed like 3 seconds of kind of where that started. The first 11 seconds I didn't post. I didn't have time to like clip these two clips together in the editing program and get it uploaded. I just wanted that interview up on our page so you guys could see it right away. So you didn't really miss anything other than him saying who he was by a social media handle for his YouTube channel. So yeah, he has a YouTube channel. So that interview is posted up on the Never.Stop.Voices YouTube channel. You can go back and watch that. It's like 22 minutes long. And this individual was talking about the trial and how he was watching the trial from home and kind of noticed these kind of discrepancies, noticed that maybe there was some bias towards Mr. Brooks, some unfairness, things like that. And, watching a lot of these lawyers channels that react to this, there were obviously a few things that got shut down that maybe shouldn't have, but because of Goofy's fucking, outbursts and arguments all the time, there's obviously no doubt that a majority of stuff is now going to get shut down. So the interview at this time just seemed very normal, right? When we were filming somebody who has an opinion that, some may agree with and most probably are not, especially when it comes to fairness and, what Mr. Brooks did. And there were some things that I had asked because, for those of you that do know who I am, being a civil rights journalist, I had noticed that there's an all-white jury. I thought that was interesting. I had been made aware that the initial polling of the jury, that and even though they did this massively extended search for jurors, that was all white, other than one individual who was Latino, and but he ended up with an all-white jury, to begin with. So as a civil rights journalist, I found that to be interesting. I also did find it to be interesting that Mr. Brooks never brought that up in argument, trying to basically get a new jury, because it's technically not a jury of his peers, right? There's nobody that looks like him. Now, whether or not that would have been granted, would have been up to Judge Darrell. Could that be grounds for appeal later, even though he didn't bring argument to it? I don't know. I tried to ask that question, but the DAs weren't very responsive to that. But I found it odd, and concerning at the same time. Like, fuck, dude, is this guy going to get an appeal because it's an all-white jury, even though he didn't bring up argument to try to squash that? So you'll hear me in the interview ask that question, because I'm trying to provoke a response from this individual as well, because he's talking about how unfair things are and all of this bias. But then at the same time, before you guys totally shit on me, he's mentioning certain things where, just as Mr. Brooks was utterly lost and confused, this individual seemed to be utterly lost and confused on the factual details as well. So you do hear me correct him when he's bringing up things like mental illness, when he's bringing up just other issues where he's kind of stating his factual basis, although that wasn't factual in reality. So you do hear me kind of stopping that and correcting it. So again, the interview just seemed to be totally fine. Nothing out of the ordinary from what we've done in the past. And then I posted the interview so you guys could see it right away. And I didn't think anything of it, because again, it was normal. So I get inside and I went right back down to the media room, and I was talking to a journalist friend of mine from mainstream media. And then we hear Judge Darrell's voice. So we run back into the media room. There's all these big screens. I posted some videos and pictures and things. You can kind of see what the war room looks like for media. Kind of interesting. So I've kind of posted that stuff for you guys, so you can see like what that whole box of fucking crazy looks like. So we're listening now, and now she's talking about this allegation. She's talking about the sheriffs that are going to investigate this. And now I'm like frantically like, I need the Reddit post. I need the Reddit post. So thanks to a good friend, they sent me the link to the Reddit post, and I read it. The Reddit post, I read it. Cheesy joke. So I read this post, and I'm in my mind, I'm going, holy fuck. One, this is concerning, right? If this is an actual juror, this is very problematic. And two, I literally just got done interviewing an individual that was spouting very similar claims as this post, claimed as well. And I went, holy shit. So I'm kind of, I talked to my journalist friend. I'm like, bro, I'm really uneasy about this interview now. I'm not comfortable with this. Like, something's off. Like, I got a bad feeling. So let's read the Reddit post for those of you that haven't seen this. So I'll pull this up for you guys. We'll do a little screen share here. So I will think that are newish to the channel or completely new, whatever. I don't have fancy gear. My computer can't handle playing videos like a lot of the other streamers. A lot of the contributions, when you guys send in donations and things like that, that goes towards open records requests instead of trying to like upgrade my computer system. All right. So this is the Reddit post. Okay. So now I see the Reddit post. I immediately took screenshots, um, trying to preserve this because I knew something was going to be off with this. But this is the actual Reddit, which for you guys' information is now gone, but we have obtained original copies. So I'm going to kind of go through this with you guys. So the Reddit post is titled, "I am a member of the jury on this case. Here are my thoughts on the trial and on this subreddit." And it's posted by anonymous Brooks Juror. Okay. And it's under this kind of justice for Darrell thing. And it's a subreddit, on the Reddit forum. So it says, "So to start with, I obviously shouldn't be here. I'm not allowed to look stuff up about this trial or really have any connection with the internet, but nobody actually follows sequestering rules anyway. Hence, I am obviously posting anonymously. I accidentally wandered into here a few days ago from the subreddit drama thread on my main Reddit account." And we're going to get to that account here in a minute. "So here's my opinion on the trial." Showtime asks, what time did it get posted? So this was when the judge brought it up on closing argument day. They got notified of it that morning, sometime, 9-ish that morning, closing argument day. So what was that, the 25th? It was posted the previous night. So, so I don't know, sometime 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night on like the 24th, it was posted. So it says, "First off, I think it's pretty obvious due to chain of custody that the defendant is in fact Mr. Brooks and he did do it. However, I've had throughout this trial doubts about various aspects of this case. The judge is clearly biased against Mr. Brooks. I got that feeling from when we were in the room, and my eyes have been opened to how she acted towards him when the jury was out of the room. Clearly, she is not an impartial judge and has been trying to belittle, demean, bully, and pull procedural tricks on him fairly frequently. I had my doubts already, but the subreddit has shown it to me clearly." There's obviously concern with this first paragraph. Had this been a juror, does the jury know, or how does this person know what's happening when they're not in the room? Could be argued that they were watching some type of, stream or feed, news clips prior to them being sequestered, things like that. It's kind of obvious at this point that this isn't a juror, due to the fact that the post was edited and deleted once the jury was sequestered and they had no access to electronic devices. So that kind of puts it to bed, but yeah, so anyway, so paragraph 2 then goes to, "Mr. Brooks has clearly not been given the chance to plead his case in court. He has been silenced and mocked at almost every turn. While he may be a bit loud or crass at times, I still believe his side deserves to be heard." I think we can agree with that. He deserves to be heard when he's acting like a normal human being. "I do have significant doubts about subject matter jurisdiction. I didn't understand it when discussed in court because the defendant was repeatedly silenced, but I do understand now thanks to this sub, and I agree that subject matter jurisdiction is a great concern here." Well, it's not, because we're not in a fucking federal court talking about taxes. People are just morons. It goes on to say, "This subreddit has made me aware of jury nullification," which, Mr. Brooks was right. The jury does have that power to overlook the law and vote, their way. But Judge Juror is obviously right, where sides are not allowed to tell the jury that. Overall, I'm not sure what I will decide. I'm not educated in law, and I have to admit I'm biased against the defendant for the horrible acts he did. However, it is also clear that this trial is a complete kangaroo court. Mr. Brooks has not been allowed to try and prove his innocence, subject matter jurisdiction, or explain the circumstances surrounding the events. It's hard to imagine what could justify it, but we just can't know because of this trial. For these reasons, I'm torn between locking him up and throwing away the key or jury nullification. Both have arguments for and against them, and I'm not looking forward to choosing. I'm mostly writing this to help myself process my thoughts on this, but please let me know what you think. Before we go forward, let me get to some comments. Kylie says, I personally think the judge did a fine job remaining unbiased. She made very clear records and had so much patience. I give her so many props. Tristan, no, that ain't the user. This act was no prank joke. It was purposely made and placed in that sub. The user's account has massive amounts of trolling content in their content history. Reddit users are speculating that the poster is either A, paid to post troll, B, an inmate, C, a fame seeker. Right. So then, because we have the original thread of this entire thing, so we have access to all these comments that were posted. Okay. So it shows the top 200 comments. We can show, click on show all 451. So there's just hundreds of comments, back and forth. Okay. Now, I wanted to find out the identity of the person I talked to. I didn't ask his real name. Some of you may know I don't normally do that. It's not my job to be law enforcement. It's not my job to really, I don't identify protesters and things like that if I'm interviewing them, if they would like to, whatever. He gave me kind of a social media handle. I didn't press it any further because I wanted the interview. But after I did the interview and I see this Reddit post and I'm reading these comments, I'm like, man, this just something does not seem right about this. It's too coincidental. I didn't know at the time, did this person do this? Is this somebody else who did this? But it didn't feel right. So yesterday we get back to court. We're doing the verdict. I come home. I'm still feeling very uneasy about this interview. Went back and read this post, kind of compared some of the verbiages that were being used in the interview. Still felt very uneasy. I talked to a few people, told them kind of my concerns. I don't feel right about this. Something's off. So being an investigative journalist, I went back and started to dig. Just like we would do with any story, and we want to follow, this Reddit story up and, kind of get some information out. So I went back and started digging into the comments, into the original post, trying to figure out who the individual was, because again, I didn't know his name. I had no contact information for him. I gave him my number, but he's yet to contact me. So kind of stayed up pretty late last night, woke up super early this morning, which is still sort of the middle of the night, and started, looking into these things further. And we come up with the individual's real name. Okay. So for the sake of safety, you guys know that when we do these types of stories, until there may be an arrest made or law enforcement identifies somebody by their name, I'm not going to put that out because of safety issues and legal reasons. But we did come across the individual's real name. From that, I started doing a search. Okay. And really digging through a lot of different social media sites, different things on the internet, criminal records, because he mentioned he had a past, and confirmed that through various social media accounts, confirmed that the individual I talked to matched the name that I had found through a search. And this was the person. So we now knew his real name. We knew his social media handles that they go by. And, it was interesting too, because even when we posted the interview, we have tons of comments on that interview and it's gotten over 1,000 views. So make sure you guys share that out too, so other people can watch that. But what was interesting is that there were other people that commented, could this be the Reddit individual? Couple of people contacted me directly and had the same concern, which kind of validated a little bit for me that uneasy feeling that I had. So we figure out his real name, can link that name to the image of the individual that I filmed and interviewed, and kind of track down all these different things. And we watched, I say we all the time, it's me, it's just me. I watched dozens of videos, confirming the face, confirming the voice, confirming verbiage, that this guy was using, kind of a political standing. I went to other YouTube channels that this individual was on. There's one channel in particular that I came across where the individual is on there and he's talking about, he's a guest on somebody else's channel and he's talking about how even killers should not be in jail. And I was like, what the fuck, dude? And listening to that interview, which is several hours long, I was like, this is absolutely insane. And again, these same kind of thought processes were, that were construed in my interview, were construed in these other interviews, these other videos that I found. So I kind of go back to, the Reddit thing. And, it was very interesting. The stuff that I found with this individual. Okay, there's and this is not hard, guys. I didn't do anything like, fucking fantastic to figure this out. Okay, but there are links to the particular individual. Okay, into these other various accounts. So we get into the comments. All right. Thanks, Rach, for the super chat. She says, keep up the great investigatory journalism. Appreciate you. All right. So we'll get into this. So a user on this Reddit post, okay, and it was like a pinned comment, okay. It says the user has submitted proof that he is a juror on this case. For reasons of anonymity and the integrity of this trial, we will not disclose details on this process, but we are very confident to the authenticity of this user's claims. When I read this, just that one single post, it brought me back to the interview I did with the individual. And again, it kind of red flagged me because the individual that we interviewed claimed that they had proof, right, of this issue with Erica Patterson, that they were in receipt of documents and these other evidences, things like that. So again, the same verbiage. Now here's a verbiage on this Reddit post. Again, very coincidental. So now it's kind of making me ask even more questions. When the interview was done and I stopped recording, I talked to the gentleman for another couple of minutes, and was asking if they would share these evidences, because if there was evidence that Erica Patterson had perjured herself, or any other witness had perjured themselves, I wanted to see these things, and maybe there's a story, maybe there's not, nobody gives a fuck, maybe they do, I don't know, but I wanted to see these things. And it was interesting because, again, very similar verbiages of they will not disclose details because, confidentiality and, authenticity and, whatever. So the same verbiages were used that I'm now seeing on this Reddit post by this additional user. So then it goes on to say, if you're confident that this is a jury member who has disclosed proof and you haven't sent it to the court, you don't give a fuck about the integrity of the trial. So that's by another user. And then the person says, sometimes you got to bend the rules a little to ensure the right outcomes. So, again, I'm reading these things and I'm like, man, something's wrong with this. So another person says, so don't claim to care about integrity. Just say you want your side to win. This is obviously now a right versus left. The individual comes back. The odds have been stacked against Mr. Brooks this whole time. It's about time he had something in his favor. Another person writes, how has it been stacked against him? He chose to represent himself and presented an awful case for himself. He even argued with one of his own witnesses. Somebody else posts, he correctly noted there are 76 charges instead of 77. That's pretty much about as far as he's going to get, though. Somebody else, they have been stacked solely because of evidence against him as well as his own conduct, right? So there's all these people that are coming back, firing back, saying basically, like, you're wrong. There's no bias. There's nothing stacked against Brooks other than the actual evidence. And then somebody else comes back and posts, interesting that folks cheering the biased actions and decisions of the judge would still invoke the integrity of the trial. This trial is devoid of integrity since day one. So I thought that, that was interesting. That was by a different poster. And so then this other poster that made the first comment that was pinned says, I really couldn't care less about this fake justice. What we need is direct action. This is direct action. So again, this particular verbiage, based on the investigation that we started doing here at Never Stop, with videos that we came across, with social media accounts that we came across, with those posts, videos that were posted on those social media accounts, again, these verbiages were matching up, and they were matching up pretty specifically. So, I'm sitting here at this point going, man, I really have reason to believe that this might actually be the individual. It is very plausible that the individual that I interviewed could potentially be the original Reddit user. We have somebody here in the comment section now that's trying to add doubt. We're saying that it's plausible. We're saying that there's reason to believe, and there's some pretty questionable things that I've come across. I'm not going to show you guys everything because, again, I don't want to release the actual identity, the real name of this individual. It's not so fucking hard to find. So we kind of get further in, and more people are back and forth arguing. Okay, so we're gonna shut down Tristan's reasonable doubt to you guys right now. Okay, so we scroll down further. This individual, again, you're delusional if you think this circus is unbiased. Okay, kind of going back and forth. Everybody's arguing in here. And then somebody posts. We'll say the individual's first name because I can't get rid of that. But somebody posts. Hi, James. Okay, that's right here. So once I saw that, knowing the full identity of the individual, which again, I matched up from the interview that I did with his face, his voice, and various accounts that individual that I interviewed has, that I looked in depth on. It was the same individual matched up with the individual's first and last name. At this point, it is very, very plausible that the individual that I interviewed could potentially be believed to be the author of the original Reddit post. Okay. I'm not saying definitively because I'm not a fucking cop. I don't know. I don't have access to the Milwaukee Fusion Center where I can just start hacking into people's social media accounts. Okay. Law enforcement is going to be able to do all of that and trace all these things back to who this actually is. Okay. But for me, kind of conducting this investigation to follow this story, the interview was uneasy. We figure out the individual's actual identity. We confirmed the first and last name with images, social media accounts, all of these different things. And now here we are on this Reddit post. Okay. And again, what I'm showing you guys in the screen is the actual feed that unfortunately you guys are not going to have access to because it's fucking deleted. We have a copy of all of this. So they say, hi, James. So now I'm going, wow, this is the first name of the individual that I interviewed. This is very interesting. Another individual says, we logged the IP of your so-called juror, and it's you, James. Now we know that, for those of you that have been part of the channel for a long time, right? I've had people rip my IP address trying to figure out, where I'm at so they can come murder me. Okay. We know that this is a very reasonable thing to do. People have access and they're able to do this. Okay. So I thought that comment, we logged the IP of your so-called juror and it's you, James. I thought that was very interesting. We know that you guys are like little internet detectives and you guys figure out a bunch of stuff. Mods, can you erase this last comment by Tristan? I don't want anything with Eastern issues posted on this, please. Get my fucking account flagged. Thank you. So then, another use real, you're fucked. Somebody else posts, can't wait to see the of whatever. I'm not going to repeat that word. There's some comments, that are removed. Okay, so I read all of these 200 and so top comments. We clicked on, the ability to read the 450 comments and, brings us to a different link, things like that. And, we come to find out that later that the content author, the anonymous Brooks Juror person that authored the original post, they had typed that this was a prank. We didn't know that this was going to backfire. Blah blah blah. We heard all that talked about in the courtroom, and then it was said that the post was deleted. Many people reported this post, and Reddit banned the account, which is why that the post is no longer visible to the general public. Again, we have the actual entirety of the post and comments and things like that. So I go back and, I go back to the first original comment that was posted, that was pinned. Okay. And it leads to a user by the name of Black Justice Forever. So we get onto that account. Right. And we kind of go through the posts for this. It says, so this is kind of sorted by like new comments. So it says, hey guys, my name is Darrell Brooks, and I'm kind of confused. Why does this sub want justice for me? If there is about my ex-wife, it's okay. I won custody of the dog. Like, it's fine, guys. The judge made her return him to me already. So there's obviously now there's all these accounts being created. People are, back and forth. So I'm like, what's going on with this? Another post, why is this kind of post allowed? This is just disrespectful to Mr. Brooks. Again, this is by Black Justice Forever. There's some other comments. He responds back with no doxing, final warning. Some of those comments have been removed. Let's see if we can actually load this part. Yes, I'm aware that the account is gone. Again, we have access to the full thing. Okay, so, they post a video. Somebody, so in the comments, then it says Darrell Brooks is a registered sex offender that is in protective custody. Black Justice Forever is predator and sympathizer to pedophiles. Feels bad, doesn't it, James? Okay, so we see this. Again, the name is being used for the individual that we've kind of traced a lot of things back to and have, again, reason to believe that the individual I interviewed might be the original author, okay, that started this entire controversy. Again, I'm not saying for fact that this is. I want to be clear on that. I don't know. Okay. It's believed at this point from all of this shit that I'm looking at, that I'm sharing with you guys, that it is plausible that this might be the actual individual. Black Justice Forever responds back, genuinely, WTF are you talking about? Okay, so another person then says, hi, James. So, right, so we've seen that multiple times. Somebody else posts, you need to email the DA's office if you know his identity, as he's obviously pretending to be a juror to get a mistrial. Okay. What I found to be interesting is that this other individual says, PM me, who's James, right? Because you guys get, your little investigative hats on. You're like, holy fuck, like, who's James? I want to know what's the inside scoop. And Black Justice responds, no doxing, final warning. Okay. If people are concerned about their information getting out there, they're going to post, hey, what the fuck? Quit doxing me. Okay. Because this individual, Black Justice Forever, is trying to remain anonymous and just go by this social media handle. Okay. People are figuring out who this is. And now they're concerned about doxing. If they weren't concerned about their personal identity being out there, I'm going to assume that this comment, no doxing, final warning, would not be in here. Again, giving me a presumption that it is plausible and highly believable that the individual I interviewed, whose factual first name is James, is not only Black Justice Forever, but also Anonymous Brooks Juror. Amongst the other things that I'm not going to publicly share with you, once law enforcement conducts their investigation, if I can get my hands on that through some open records requests and things like that, I'll share that shit with you guys. Okay. I'm doing my best here. I do still have to preserve the sanctity of this individual until this investigation continues. All right. So another individual then says, you're getting doxxed by Wisconsin. You going to ban Wisconsin? So you guys are going hard. Another person says, enjoy being investigated for criminal acts. Somebody else says, just delete your account, man. They'll find you either way. It doesn't count as doxing if you both know each other. Okay, laughing my ass off. You're fucked, bud. Okay, a lot of people saying you're fucked, my guy. If you're literally one of the few people supporting this monster, it really goes to show how sick and twisted the people who think he's innocent, blah, blah, blah. So they go on and on and on. Okay. And there's tons more posts. Let me see if I click on the right one. So I spent hours literally clicking on these little posts and reading these additional comments that are underneath each post. Okay. Some of these didn't come up. Some of them did. Like that one won't fucking come up now. Quite a few of these didn't come up. Then, Black Justice goes on to post, oh no, they discovered I live in a 300-mile radius. It goes on to post, I have been, that's how I arrived at this conclusion. And there's all these additional comments and all these things by all these people, and he's kind of responding. I have years of research under my belt. So again, based on other social media accounts and videos and posts that are on social media accounts that unfortunately I'm not going to share with you guys right now because it's going to divulge this guy's fucking actual identity. Again, these verbiages that are being used in these posts here are matching verbiages used in their own videos, in videos where they're a guest on somebody else's show. in their social media posts that they have on their various accounts. A lot of this stuff is matching the same exact verbiage and these claims, these ridiculous claims. Okay, let's see. I'll pull this up. Let me make sure this is the right video before I share this with you guys. LJD3 just got here, but yes, he was one of that made that post this guy able way. See, a lot of you, when I posted that interview, a lot of you were thinking the same exact thing. You know, and like I said, this really me kind of confirmed my suspicion that, fuck, dude, did I interview the individual that made this post? All right, so let me see if I can find this. I'll share this YouTube thing. I mean, this is his YouTube handle, whatever the fuck. I don't care. I'm not going to give you his full name, but YouTube handle's fucking different. All right, if you haven't liked the video yet, make sure you like it. Share this out if you haven't. Okay, if you want to support the content that we create, there's some pinned links. Our mods are posting some links there as well. Okay, so let me see if I can do this a different way, because I'm kind of, there we go. So on this particular YouTube video, okay, this is the "No one deserves to be in prison, even killers." And the bottom left is the same individual that I interviewed. Okay. So I'll kind of show you that, showing you, you know, this kind of track of multiple social media accounts and videos and things that I looked at. So this is just an example of the dozens and dozens of accounts I've looked at, videos I've watched, to confirm this individual that I interviewed is the same individual for the handle he gave me and matches to the real life factual name of the individual that I tied the government name, okay, with the YouTube handles and social media accounts and all these things, and then leading again back to the Reddit posts, okay, that again all match, where people are that know him, follow him on his accounts, know his real name. Okay. So that's kind of where I've gotten to. I'd love to show you a lot more, but again, there's so much of the social media accounts that I've found that just list the full government name, and we just don't want to do that. You know, we don't give those things out until, you know, there's some conclusory evidence confirming, yes, 100% this is the individual, or 100% this is not the individual, or if you know, law enforcement decides to have charges. Obviously, you know, let's pretend for a second this was a juror, in fact, which I don't believe it was, and a lot of other people don't either, especially the courts and law enforcement. But let's pretend there are definitely charges coming against a juror. Okay. Not being a juror, I would assume, I think we can all safely assume, that there could potentially be some charges placed on the individual, of jury tampering, right? Some other charges based along those lines of trying to create a mistrial, some type of tampering with the integrity of the courts, some type of tampering with the jury. Again, based on verbiages used in various videos that we found with this individual, of direct action to keep people out of jail, direct action to cause utter chaos when it comes to the Black community, okay, and preserving them, which I think there's a bunch of us here that, can understand, protecting a Black community. But again, verbiages, everything is really matching up to where this potentially really could be the actual individual that I just so happened to interview. So that's kind of where we're at with that. I'll bring up the original Reddit post. Okay, so unfortunately, this is the original post. So the user, Anonymous Brooks Juror, the account has been suspended. Okay, so you guys are not going to be able to find that thing, but there are ways, people, to track down archived internet posts. Okay, so just a warning for you guys. Like there was, I'll give you an example. So there was a time we couldn't afford to pay the website bill, right? Because funds were very limited, and this company doesn't make money without you guys. You guys donate funds to help us keep going and providing content and keep exposing things. So there was a time that funds were very low. I wasn't able to pay the website bill. And there are websites that archive internet things. So I was able to, go on those sites and pull up my website without actually, physically seeing my website, from, typing in Never.Stop.Voices.com or logging into the back end, because these sites archive all of these various things. And with these sites that archive this shit, you're able to actually click around and go to different pages and click on comments. And, I was able to view my articles and things like that. So for those of you that think that, like, oh shit, I'm going to delete my comment or I'm going to delete this, there are sites that fucking archive all of that stuff. So, word of advice, nobody is fucking safe. So, that's kind of how we got to this, this stuff of being able to locate the physical original post, what it looked like for those of you that didn't see it. Okay. And be able to have access to various comments and different usernames. And, through these last couple days of investigation from Never Stop Media, again, we've matched up the identity of the individual that I interviewed with various social media accounts, with the name, the government name, associated then with social media handles, verbiages throughout those various social media things that match up with other verbiages used on social media accounts and in video footage, the contents of the Reddit post that match some things that are being said in the interview that I conducted with him. So again, I'm not saying for 100% fact, okay, that this individual is the actual author. What I'm saying is it is believed, it is very plausible, okay, and I personally believe that it may be the actual author. based on everything that I have found up to this point. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Put some comments, put some questions. Let's open it up to questions at this point. Okay, the original the original video of the interview that I did is up on our YouTube channel. So I'll just go to that link. We'll post it right. You can go. You're already on the YouTube channel, but obviously you can just click over to our videos. But I'll post it here so you guys see it. There's the link to that video. I showed you the individual's face from a different video. You pass these ads on our channel. Of course, there's fucking ads. Okay, so from the other video I showed you guys where he was in the kind of bottom left of the screen, it is the same individual that I interviewed. And we tracked, again, all of that down to various social media accounts, okay? And matched up again the face, the mannerisms, the verbiages, the voice, the identity, same identity he gave me here, which also then is linked to government name. So yeah, so I don't know. What do you guys think? What are your thoughts? What questions do you have? Do you think Never Stop Media might be on the right track with this? Or am I completely off? What are your thoughts? Jay Bean says it seems plausible. What do you guys think? Type in the comment section. Does it seem plausible? Jessica says, I think it is very possible it could be the same person. Tristan seems to be the only one that doesn't think any of this is any of this is possible, that we're way off base here. I'm generally pretty fucking good at doing investigations. I could be wrong. I could be, and if I am, obviously we'll let you guys know that too. But everything that I'm seeing here, it seems like it's plausible. Tristan's yelling at me. Making claims based on social media accounts is never a good idea. I saw the post history of the account. You deleted that comment, though. I still think it's a non-American. No, I don't think so. Chaos says it is weird the guy would take time out of his day to go to the trial, then promote it that he's there to ensure a fair trial. Yeah, it was kind of weird to me where, and I guess maybe weird is not the right word because I've seen this so many times, and especially in the Rittenhouse trial, where everybody wants to get their 5 minutes, right? They want to be on camera, and that's why people showed up in fucking costumes and just goofy shit. But he was very kind of braggadocious about how he was on court TV. They interviewed him, and there's like an 18-second clip. And then as soon as I was done interviewing him, it stood out to me where it was one of those things where he's like, oh, I'm going to go over here by this particular network and see if they want to interview me because I've already been on court TV, and let me get with these other people to see who wants to like he was just so like braggadocious that he was on court TV, and then he was like trying to get with mainstream media to really get his story out there of not thinking that this was a fair trial. LJD3, thanks for the super chat. They say some of us get busy and lose track. Please, anyone who can keep an eye out. He is an extreme race baiter and insider. Thank you so much. I'm assuming you're talking about the individual that's that we interviewed and not me. Then Jessica became a member. Thank you for that. We got a new member. Mary B says, I think it's possible. Makes a lot of sense. All right, LJ, thank you for the clarification. I didn't think you were calling me a race baiter, but I just wanted to be sure. I've been called many things before in the past. Ruben says, I think the sheriff would like this information. I mean, you guys do whatever it is you need to do. Radio says, I don't think it was a juror. I don't think it was a juror either. I really don't. Again, one of the biggest confirmations that it is most likely not an actual juror from the trial is that after the jury was sequestered, okay, all of their belongings were taken away from them. They had no access, according to the courts. I wasn't obviously in the fucking jury room, so I can't say for certain, but I would have to believe Judge Darrell and District Attorney Opper when they said that all of their, or maybe it was Zach Wichow that said that all of their electronics were. I think it was Zach, who's like fucking internet famous at this point. Zach just completely crushed it and shut down Brooks. I think he was stellar. So he has definitely a bright future, I think. For all the let me interject here and go on a quick tangent. For all of you guys that follow Mercado Media, right? Like Merck's obviously been to Hennepin County for the Darrell Brooks, Derek Chauvin case, and how many times have we gone to Hennepin County for Kim Potter and all these things? Assistant District Attorney Zach Wichow was like an intern at Hennepin County. So I kind of went on his like LinkedIn profile today and kind of saw like his whole background. I just thought that it's just weird. It's funny how like these things just like tie in together. But yeah, so anyway, so all their electronics were taken away, and then the original author had posted, hey, this was a prank. I didn't know this was going to blow up, blah, blah, blah. And then, it was said that the account was deleted by the author. it wasn't. The account was banned by Reddit itself. How tall is Zach? Zach's actually pretty tall. Kind of reminds me of like Spock. Mary B says, I never thought it was an actual juror. I was more concerned about whether it was someone actually aligned with Brooks or just a random person looking for internet fame. Yeah, I thought that too. I asked this individual, like, are you in contact with Mr. Brooks? Do you write to each other? He says no. I'm sure there's ways to track that down if that is the case. We obviously know that the jail phone calls are recorded because Mr. Brooks is incarcerated. Any physical form of letters are read by the sheriffs. A lot of that stuff I know is scanned into computers as well. And I would assume it would be, especially with this individual, Mr. Brooks. And any because he has access to the tablet where you can receive emails, or it's like the form of an email, but it's it's like an electronic letter. That stuff is all saved in the jail, the state. They're all going to have access to that. WTD says, "What's up, dude?" WTD says it's dodgy, but Juror or not, none of it is actionable against the Reddit guy, nor grounds for appeal for Brooks. I definitely agree it's not grounds for appeal for Brooks. I don't know if it's actionable by law enforcement. I don't know. It'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to know if it is. I would think that there potentially is a charge for attempting to tamper with a trial, maybe not tamper with a jury, right? Because he more than likely didn't have access to the actual jurors, but maybe tampering with a trial, tampering with a court proceeding. I don't know, maybe something along. Law enforcement is fucking clever when it comes to trials and charges and I meant to say not trials, but when it comes to coming up with charges on people. Peace, love. Welcome to the stream. Peace, love says, morning, everyone. Interesting that you were able to video and talk to him. Makes you wonder. Yeah, it was just like, it was happenstance that I was outside. Outside smoking. I seen the guy walk past. Being on Mercado's live stream, kind of giving everybody the updates. I saw that all of you guys were curious on who he was and what he was doing there and what's the relationship. And that's why when he walked past, I was like, you know what, let's talk to this guy. Originally wasn't filming when I first talked to him, but as he kind of started talking, I was like, whoa, hold on. Are you okay if I record this? Can we film it? Whatever. So yeah. And now, if this is actually the individual that is the original author of the Reddit post, if in fact he is, which again we're not saying, we're saying it's believed with everything that I've kind of gone through, publicly with you, and then other things I haven't released to you guys yet. But everything that I've seen, everything matching up, it's believed, and it's kind of plausible that this could be. Mary B. Brooks just seemed too concerned with the whole thing. Granted, I think he would have clung to anything that gave him hope. I think he would have clung to anything as well. And being in the courtroom, you guys obviously saw the stream of them talking about this, but being in there, it was from only the 2 days that I was there, because I wasn't there the entire time, but from what I've seen, whatever, it really did seem like Brooks's disposition had changed. He did seem concerned. He seemed nervous about this. Now, whether or not that was a very real thing, or if it was another game by Brooks of, trying to pretend to be concerned and actually care about the integrity of the court for once, that's hard to say. But yes, he obviously was trying to use this as a, as a tactic. Well, so it'll be interesting to see if, maybe on his appeal, because you already know he's going to file an appeal. It'll be interesting to know, and maybe there's some actual lawyers out there that can comment and maybe clear this up on whether or not it was proper to not sort of pause the case until the pending outcome of the trial, the investigation, I mean, pause the trial until the pending outcome of the investigation of this alleged juror. So make sure you guys share the stream, like the video if you haven't, subscribe, hit the bell. There are some pinned links if you want to support the platform and the content that we create. A lot of time and effort that goes into this stuff. LJ says, if you watch Brooks' reaction, he seemed to have a familiarity as if maybe he knew the poster. There, WTD says there are way too many safeguards in place for jury tampering to be a thing. Yeah, I there's no way that, the individual got to the jury. I was concerned, like we talked about in the very beginning of the stream, for those of you that are like potentially just tuning in, there was a juror that happened to be at the front doors when we were waiting to get in that was talking about some jury type stuff. But they were not a Brooks juror. They were there. They got brought in, for the panel for a totally different case, and whatever excuse they used, they were able to get out of that particular trial. But that was a little sketchy. It was a little concerning when that individual started talking, because several of us were like, oh, what the fuck? Chaos says maybe the judge will provide an update on Monday when they are in court for the scheduled sentencing. Probably she might. I'm sure Brooks is going to bring it up again, because he's a straw man. He's grasping at every straw he can at this point. Judge Darrell did say that, pending the outcome of the, the investigation, whatever, like once it's concluded, all of those findings will be provided to the parties. I just thought, I thought this was very interesting. I've kind of been looking into this the last couple of days now, and, spent a lot of time tracking down a lot of these things and kind of taking notes on verbiages from posts, matching that up with videos, matching it up with the interview, matching it up with the Reddit comments, again, obtaining identities of individuals. I just think it's pretty fucking plausible. And I found it interesting that when we put the actual interview up there, that some of you guys posted after watching my interview without me saying anything prior to this stream, or, potentially connecting the Reddit posts to the person I interviewed. There were several of you that commented, the DA is looking for you. Could this be the Reddit poster? So a lot of you that had seen the Reddit post and the verbiages that were used in there and then saw the video, a lot of you kind of thought the same thing. Holy shit, could this be the person? There are things that are being said that kind of align. Now, it is possible that just the Reddit poster and the individual I videoed, just share a similar viewpoint. I think that's a little bit of a fucking stretch, but that's just me. WTD says Brooks was smart enough to call for an interlocutory appeal and clap back on the judge for Illinois versus Allen. I've changed my mind on a few things since the sentencing. Chaos, wonder if Brooks will be back in meltdown mode on Monday. Yeah, I mean, I could see him being more argumentative on Monday, and then, more defeated on sentencing day. He definitely, and you guys could see it on the streams that you were watching. He had his head down. Being in the courtroom, looking at him, again, looking at his disposition compared to other days, he seemed extremely defeated. He really did. He was a lot calmer in the way he was talking, but he did seem fucking defeated. So we'll see. I'm not going to be there Monday because it's just a standard court case date. And they could be in there for 5 minutes or they could be in there for 2 hours, knowing Brooks. But they're just going to be talking about some stuff. So kind of behind the scenes is, whatever. But on sentencing day, I will definitely do my best to get down there and do some more kind of behind the scenes, what's happening when the cameras aren't on, kind of thing. Because I'm pretty sure Andrew's going to live stream it again. So I will do my best to get down there. A lot of that stuff is made possible again by you guys, sending in support with donations and things. Helps with travel, helps with open records requests, helps with getting content up on the channel for you guys to view. All of that. You're supporting the content. Okay. If there's anything else. Chaos says, I think the victim impact statement will take a long time. Yeah, I do as well. I would imagine that like the families that we saw, at the press conference, I would imagine that they will speak again. I would imagine that maybe a few of the of age individuals that Brooks had struck that lived but sustained some pretty serious injuries, I would imagine there might be a few of them that speak. A lot of you had question in regards to the individual that said, I hope you burn in hell, you piece of shit. It's believed that individual was a family member of Lee Owen. She was 71 years old. She was represented in count 2 of the intentional homicide charge because she was struck by Brooks and passed. And that individual yelled that out right after count 2. So it's believed that he was a family member to Lee Owen. I had talked to him many times in the 2 days that I was there, And I just never asked which family member he was there to support. Super nice individual, though. So that answers Boss's question about the individual that had the outburst in court. Yes, that's who I think that was. I think he was a family member of Lee Owen, 71-year-old woman that was struck and killed by Darrell Brooks. Yeah, I thought more people would have said something, lashed out. I was actually kind of surprised that he did. I know he wanted to. He had some choice things to say about Brooks in general, but I was kind of surprised that he didn't kind of hold the composure. I don't fault him at all, 100%. I fault him. It was interesting to see the families' faces as the verdicts were being read, how composed they were. There were obviously a couple that had some tears. You could tell that they were a bit emotional. There was one individual that was crying during the verdict reading, kind of heavily, but it was pretty composed. Same thing with the jury. Pretty composed during the verdict reading. They looked at Brooks several times throughout the reading of certain charges when it came to the verdict. Wanting to see, I would assume, his reaction. Joanne says, do you feel it was fair that Judge Darrell made that family member leave the room, especially after all of Brooks' outbursts? Yeah, I do. It's her courtroom. Any judge, still wants the court to remain, the decorum, as she says. We see that in a lot of cases where the judges, tell the people in the gallery, for both sides, the defendant and the victim side, and all that, to, no outbursts, no sighs of relief, no, no noises, no audible noises whatsoever during verdict readings and things like that. So yes, I think it was fair that she had him removed. She said she was going to, if there was any disruption by anybody, she said she was going to. I do think that it was fair. But again, I don't fault the guy at all. I'm surprised more people didn't jump up and say some harsh things to Brooks, throughout the entire trial. So what else? What other questions do you guys have? We'll stay on for another few minutes here. I don't want to make this too long. I do have some stuff to do, but make sure you guys like and share the stream out. Hit the bell for notifications. I don't do too many lives anymore, just because of trolling and bullshit and nonsense that comes into the chat. But periodically, as you see, once in a while, I still do. We put a lot of content videos up on the channel. A lot of it is specific to the unrest that happened in Kenosha. Kind of getting, different things out there so that the truth of the totality of the situation in Kenosha is out there, because there is still so much misinformation. And we have a lot of exclusive videos that, nobody else has. So like when you guys donate to the platform, a lot of that money is used towards the cost of open records requests, things like that. We still have 25 of the 51 law enforcement agencies that we still need to file open records requests on, things like that. Helps with some travel. kind of going to and from these court cases. But getting, open records requests. We were one of the first media outlets that put the jury viewing of Brooks's car. When the judge said that they were going to have the jury come and view the vehicle, as soon as she said it, I was already on the computer drafting up that open records request so that when they filmed the car, we could be, one of the first media outlets that got it. I think we all kind of received it at the same exact time. And I think we were one of the first that got it up on, a platform. Oh, Joanne, perfect. Oh, so I was talking. Okay, so I know who you are. So I sort of talked about you ladies on. Remember? All right, so she can attest. So the woman that was when we were sitting at the front doors that we figured out she was a juror, and like the three of us almost had a total grabber thinking that she was a juror on the Brooks trial. So I was kind of telling the viewers about that encounter because it's it's obviously talking about this potential juror issue on this Reddit post. So I kind of brought that up for some context. But yeah, so you can vouch for that story. That happened. So definitely was not a Brooks juror. Joanne can attest to that as well, that it wasn't. She was not in that jury box. But yes, the three of us almost had an absolute heart attack. They were like, I don't think you should be talking to us. And I'm like, nope, I can't be here for this shit. I walked away. I wanted nothing to do with that. So what else? I'll give this another 7 minutes and then I'm going to jump off. Make sure you guys like the video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the bell for notifications. Share this video out. Never Stop Media Facebook page has been permanently banned because people don't like hearing the truth. So sharing this on Facebook, your Twitter accounts, whatever you have, share it out. If you guys think certain things need to be forwarded to the appropriate people, do your due diligence. It's not my job to be law enforcement. So Joanne says, yes, it happened, not a Brooks juror. Awesome. Thank you for validating what I said earlier. That was definitely nerve-wracking for sure. What else? What other questions, comments do you guys have? Kind of open this up to sort of everything for the next 6 minutes. I'm going to jump off here at 10:50. So we have 6 more minutes, guys. So I'm going to jump off. What other questions or comments do you have? What do you guys think that have been here watching this video? Do you think we're on the right track? Do you think I'm way off base? Comment that. Comment where you guys are tuned in from, what city, where you're watching from. For those of you that are watching me through somebody else's restream, come to the Never.Stop.Voices YouTube channel for the original content and stop watching somebody else's restream of me. So like I said, the identity of the individual, in the interview and everything I've kind of found so far, we're going to hold, we said the first name, but we're going to hold the full government name just for safety and legal issues. And, you know, if there's conclusion to the Waukesha Sheriff's Department investigation, you know, we'll let you guys know that. I'll file some open records requests to try to get, you know, those reports and things. If in fact this is the individual that is the author of the Reddit post, if we can confirm that, excuse me, with the Sheriff's Department, you know, we'll let you guys know that as well. Again, I'm not saying definitively this is the individual, but it is very plausible. Definitely have reason to believe that this definitely could be. Joanne saw the interview and thinks it might be the Reddit person as well. So if you guys haven't watched the interview, it is up on our YouTube channel. Okay, it is titled "Making Sure Darrell Brooks Gets a Fair Trial." So once we're done with this, you can go jump around on the channel and see that. We're going to be posting, you know, a lot more Kenosha stuff because, again, I very heavily focus a lot on Kenosha. So this is the interview video. You know, make sure you guys share that out. Obviously, a lot of you guys watched the press conference and all of that with the DA, you know, after the verdict. I'm sure most of you watched it live. Being a live streamer, we couldn't stream it live because there was so much interference from mainstream media that was down there. Plus, you're in a courthouse. So, you know, that was problematic, trying to get signal. The Wi-Fi feed was very weak. But in the beginning of, so I just pre-recorded the press conference. So again, I'm sure you guys all watched it live. But in the beginning of our video, I kind of filmed a little bit of behind the scenes inside of the media room, so you guys could kind of see like this whole setup. It gets constructed when they're doing these press conferences and with these like media war rooms, and all of that. So we do have that on ours. So you can watch the first, you know, I don't know, 2-3 minutes, whatever. Kind of see what that's all like. Mary B, watching from Southeast Wisconsin, moving to Waukesha. Well, good luck with that. Boss is moving to Tosa. I don't know why you would move to Wauwatosa. That is insane to me. For those of you that are newer to the platform, I'll link this for you guys. Sometimes when we do the live streams, and then live streams that are posted on the channel sometimes can be a bit raw and abrasive. I do use some adult language. I get a little heated sometimes. If that makes you uncomfortable, because some people don't like my language, I get it. A lot of times when we do these types of things, you know, we're sometimes reporting some news. Other times we're just trying to discuss things with viewers, get some opinions. You know, sometimes we kind of play around too. So if you want some very toned down, very professional things, you can go to our website, Never.Stop.Voices.com. That's where we host our articles. Been a little while since I've wrote an article. I've been dealing with some other stuff. But a lot of things pertaining to Kenosha are up there. Some things pertaining to Waukesha with the Waukesha County Sheriff, a division supervisor, actually. Kenosha, Wauwatosa, some different trial things that are up there. And then just some personal things I wrote about from filming, various events and things like that. But there's dozens of articles, very professionally written, no crazy language. But the link is there for that. The YouTube channel. A lot of times, if we're just making a quick post, we'll post that in the community tab. So make sure if you're not getting notified of posts and things, you check that periodically. There's some random things that we post there, pictures and things like that. Maybe some quick updates, some quick breaking news, all of that. You can click on the playlist tab, which will kind of, instead of scrolling through every single video on the platform to see something you might be interested in, you can go to the playlist tab. Just make sure this is and that outline some various types of coverages that you may be interested in, some other court cases that we've done, a lot of Kenosha stuff that's exclusive to Never Stop Media, that we're the only ones that have it. Nobody else has ever posted it. Body camera footage from that night from law enforcement, court camera footage, things like that, which then coincide with the articles written on the website. Our live streams from that 9 days of unrest out there. Things like that, picture images that law enforcement took during that, some out-of-state coverage we've done in Minnesota, protests, dozens and dozens of protests that we did for the last couple of years. There's some exclusive member-only content. There's a few different levels, price-wise, for being a member if you're interested in that. So, other than that, there's no other questions. I am going to end this stream and jump off. Again, thanks for tuning in. Like the video if you haven't already. Hit the bell for notifications for new video content that we post or when we do go live. If you want to support the channel and the content that we put up there for you guys to view, you can either join and become a member, or the pinned links that are on the comment section. We'll post that in the description as well. You can donate there. Again, it supports the content that we create. Okay, not me. I do work. It's the content and the time and effort for all of the investigations we do, all of the open records requests that cost us thousands and thousands of dollars, suing departments when they refuse to give us records. It costs money for all of that. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you guys later.